Good evening. My name is Kadaria Ahmed, and this is Straight Talk. My guest today is a young man who is a published author, award-winning journalist, entrepreneur, and an acknowledged leader, disruptor, and influencer of his generation. At just 29, my guest has achieved and done more in his young life than many do in a lifetime. Named by Forbes magazine as one of Africa's best entrepreneurs under 30, he's managing partner of Red Media Africa, owners of the Future Africa Awards, Why Africa, and WhyNiger.com. He is also the founding director of the Future Project, designed to empower young people through leadership and enterprise, a venture my guest began 10 years ago when he was just 19 years old. In 2010, he convened the Enough is Enough protests, which galvanized the nation against bad governance. More recently, my guest has published a book titled, Are We the Turning Point Generation? The book is a collection of essays that examine the many issues we face as a country and seeks to inspire people to action. On Straight Talk today, I'm pleased to have with me Mr. Chude Jideonwo. Welcome to Straight Talk.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I don't know whether I should be calling you Mr. or Chude. It's one of those awkward ones, right? Now, in 2010, you founded Enough is Enough, and it became a pressure group that is seeking, to galvanize Nigerians to demand for good governance. What role is that group going to play in the 2015 election?
Right. First, Enough is Enough was a child of circumstance, which is why sometimes I'm reluctant to say I founded it, because we didn't know that it was going to be an organization. We figured that it was going to be two protests, actually one. Our president was missing at the time, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. Nobody knew what was going on, and we just wanted the rule of law to be obeyed. And so we thought, let's go and demand this. And after that, it was like, okay, now that we have this, what are we going to do with it? And there were so many young people who wanted to be involved. And so it's kind of morphed into an election and active citizenship pressure group. So along the line, it is trying to find that role, and it's focused mostly on elections. Now, in this coming election, obviously, it's going to play a key role, working through its executive director, Yemi Adamalekon. And it's going to be focused on giving young people a reason to go out and vote. Because what has happened is that people have lost the enthusiasm and the excitement with which they went out to vote.
In practical terms, what does that mean?
That means that, one, for instance, there are the RSVP tours across the country, which are basically a series of pop culture activities like concerts that young people have to bring their registration, their voters' cards as access to those elections. We're going to be hosting a presidential debate, a youth-focused presidential debate. Remember that the last one was the What About Us debate that really people paid attention to across the country.
Okay, so first thing is, you're encouraging people to register, yes, because the reward for that will be they'll be able to attend cool events, yes, that are taking place. And then you're having, like you said, a youth-focused debate similar to what you did in the last election.
And there have been pockets of those debates across states. There was debate in Osun, there was debate in Anambra, and so on.
Why do you think it's important that young people get engaged?
Well, it's a cliche, but we are the bulk of the nation, literally, bulk up to 70%. And so when you have that kind of power, with such great power comes a great responsibility to define the issues that we complain so much about. We complain about corrupt leaders, we complain about, bloated governments, we complain about the cost of governance and all of that. Well, here is the chance to actually make a difference.
What do you make of the two main parties, the APC and the PDP, and the way in which they're engaging with young people in the political process?
So two things. I am both excited isn't the word. I am both interested in and appalled by both parties, which is as it should be in a democracy. There's no perfect giant, so to speak. However, they have made the right noises when it comes to young people being involved in.
Okay, but no, just explain. You're interested why? You are appalled why?
Okay, so I'm interested because for the first time in Nigeria's democracy since 1999, because in 1999 we had the PDP's opposition. I'm trying to remember the APP, and the APP was some kind of opposition. Olufalaye, was a credible opposition candidate. Since then, we've not had a credible opposition candidate to the extent that even observers believe that that person has the capacity and the machinery to win elections. Since that time, this is the first time we're having such a competitive environment. The APC stands a real chance of at least bruising the ruling party, which is important in a democracy. There must be a sense of competition. There must be a sense of competing ideas searching for public approval. So that's one. Secondly, the APC has been able to, the two parties have been able to siphon off each other, making it important for there to be internal party democracy because you're afraid of losing your people, making it important for you to have structured processes. So we're having debates about the constitutionality or the sensibility in having consensus candidates. And then more importantly, the PDP is learning to put its house in order, witness the transition from Bamanga Tuko to a new body language from Adamu Mwazu. Almost like running a business. You have competition, you have your clients, your customers have alternatives, even if those alternatives are not necessarily better than you.
So these are the good things. What are the things that appall you?
The things that appall me are the fact that there is no, and this is a cliche also, there is no marked difference in ideology or posture from both parties. I could look at the spokesmen of both parties that could interchange press releases. That could just take from here and put here, and I'd notice no difference.
So what it sounds to me like you're saying is that Nigerians and the young people that you're urging to go out and vote don't have real options.
They have alternatives, which is a good step from where we are coming from. Because we let's have to put it in context. I remind people that when I was born in 1985, under the regime of Ibrahim Babangida, I grew up under the dictatorship of Sani Abacha. And so I am very thankful and grateful for democracy. And every decision I make and every action I take comes from that understanding that it could be far, far worse. That leaders could be chosen without my permission being asked. That people could reach the finish line without going through a competition. And so for me, any small leap forward is a giant leap forward. So if we have a choice between two candidates, and Nigeria needs strong institutions, yes, but we must first start with strong people who will build those institutions. So what we have now is a competing set of peoples who are aligned around common ideals, and that's how democracy matures.
How hopeful are you that the 2015 elections will be conducted peacefully, ushering in these good things that you seem, to think, are going to happen in this country? Because a lot of other people are really afraid of what the elections will bring.
But I'm frankly, and it's not a happy-go-lucky fear, and I'm frankly not afraid. And I'm not afraid because of the trend of our election. If you were monitoring this mathematically, there has been less violence, less rigging, and more of a balanced field progressively since 1999.
You've said again and again, I've read in different places, where you've talked about the fact that we need to understand, in order to change Nigeria, we have to change government. Mm-hmm. What is your assessment of the current government?
So I laugh because I found that the criticism of this current government is unproductive to the extent that it is immediately viewed as antagonism. And so ultimately it isn't productive. However,
So does that mean you don't criticize at all, even when things are going wrong?
I do, but then I have to ensure that it is absolutely the final option. So, for instance, we're bringing back our girls. It appeared at that point that there had not been a public an institutional acknowledgement that girls were missing, and it was appalling. And it required that citizens, there was no other option. You couldn't negotiate this, you couldn't encourage this. The only thing you could do was to demand angrily that the government acknowledge that girls were missing.
What about President Jonathan? What do you make of his performance?
I think that he has a mixed legacy. I think, for instance, I'm very impressed by the series of activities around agriculture, including food sufficiency, the pyramids in the north, and all of that. I'm impressed by the attempts at the road networks. I mean, Lagos Ibadan, the Benin Express Road was built. It's falling apart now, but it was at least built. It was at least focused on, and we have been complaining about this severally under successive PDP governments. I'm impressed by that. I'm impressed by the actions on railways. I'm impressed by that. I'm completely unimpressed by the body language on corruption. You know?
Yes, because before his inauguration, you were at a youth dinner in his honor, and I quote what you said about him. You said to him, you have a prime opportunity to be a hero and change this system for good, in a way your predecessors have sadly been incapable of. We'll be watching you, sir, but we won't just watch, we will demand it, and we will work to make sure that we get it. We will hold you to every one of your promises.
Yeah.
You've been watching. What is your verdict?
That's my verdict. My verdict is he has not dislodged that system. He has not dislodged that corrupt, you know, self-gratifying system that of patronage. He hasn't. That's just, I mean, he has appeared to try to engage it towards some infrastructural development, which is necessary. But fundamentally, Nigeria is still, actually, I believe that Nigeria is a more corrupt state now, with a fundamentally more, with a government more fundamentally predisposed towards permitting corruption than at any point in time.
Now, I saw a quote. Someone was talking about you online, and I read it to you, and I'd like you to tell me what you make of that allegation. It says, Chude is playing the typical Nigerian journalist game. Criticize the government and president and add some praise. Then, of course, you go and hold your plate before Oga and collect your share of the national cake. So he gets to eat both ways. Seen as a government critic on one side and also enlarging his pocket from the very government he seeks to bring down. Hypocrisy at its best. This is someone describing you. What do you make of this allegation?
I honestly don't make much of it, because I remember that when I finished giving my speech, we are watching you to be the president, somebody replied and said, well, who's going to watch the watchers? And I completely welcome people watching me. I completely welcome scrutiny. I make clear what I stand for. I defend myself where I feel it's important to do so, especially when I feel I need to clarify where I stand on any issue. And I move on. The rest, if I am criticizing, to speak, government, then I should expect that I will also be criticized. So if somebody makes a specific accusation against me and says that this happened, then I will reply specifically to that and say that didn't happen, or yes, that happened and this is why.
Do you belong to any political party?
No.
Will you be registering with any political party?
I am considering registering with a political party. Maybe not, most likely not in this cycle.
Now, I want to try and play a quick game with you.
Okay.
I'm going to call out some names, and in 2 words, I want your verdict on those people.
Okay.
Retired General Muhammadu Buhari.
Dogged, inflexible.
Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar.
Cunning, visionary.
Governor of Lagos State Babatunde Fashola.
Angry. Angry, determined.
Minister of Petroleum Resources Dizani Alison Madueke.
Confusing, conflicting.
Governor of Rivers State Rotimi Amechi.
Fearless, fearless and clear.
Governor of Kano State Rabiu Kwankwaso.
Confusing, interesting.
Publisher of leadership newspaper Samunda Isaiah.
Underwhelming, but promising.
Governor of Akwa Ibom State Godswill Akpabio.
Complex, enterprising.
Vice President Namadi Sambo.
Disciplined, loyal.
New Governor of Ekiti State Mr. Fayose.
I have to use 15 words. All over the place. I mean, all over the place is what I use for him. I mean, I'd say dramatic. I mean, I don't know about him. I mean, he's dramatic. Okay. I think he's also impressive.
Final name, President Goodluck Jonathan.
Symbolic. Confusing.
It's time for a quick break. When we return, we speak about the legislation against gay marriage in Nigeria and why Chude is ashamed of the fact that Nigeria is largely a homophobic society. Don't go away.
Wow, you play so well now. I want to be just like Don Jazzy. Oh, really?
Milk for you boys?
Thanks, Mom. Thank you. You know, he even drinks Lawyer milk every day, too. How do you know that? Let me show you. He's out there. Let's go play.
Hi. You want to play?
Calcium fortified Lawyer milk nourishes the body and helps to build stronger bones. Now that keeps my family active every day. That's why I made the switch to Lawyer milk. You too can make that switch. Lawyer milk, it's what's inside that matters.